What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about a league winner and some must-add players from the Week 14 waiver wire. So let's get started and talk right about the must-add player of the week, Jayden Reed, who played in 47% of the snaps. Not great, but this was because Christian Watson went absolutely nuclear. Now, unfortunately, Christian Watson went down, and it was a non-contact injury. Christian Watson is one of my favorite players, even though I am a Bears fan. That doesn't affect my bias. I love Christian Watson coming into this year. Even though he hasn't produced at all for most of the year, he just was really cooking in the last few games. So it sucks to see him go down like that, but that means that Jayden Reed is emerging once again as that top target getter. You know, he only played 47% of the snaps, only had 5 targets, but before this game where he had 5.6 points, he had 19 points, 19 points, and 15 points. He was really coming on. Jordan Love looks a lot better than he did in the middle of the year. He's kind of looking like the Jordan Love he did at the beginning of the year. Maybe not a great NFL quarterback. Still makes mistakes, but he has a pretty good passing volume, and he's, throwing some touchdowns, which helps out these receivers. Jayden Reed's a rookie, looking very good. Again, in Week 13, 47% of snaps played, not great, but 5 targets, 4 receptions. That's all right. The big issue was he only had 16 yards. Obviously, a low average depth of target was the benefactor of that, but I expect that to go up. You don't just get 4 catches for 16 yards on the daily basis, but he's still rostered under 42.6% of leagues, which is honestly pretty ridiculous considering he was so good just a week before that. Now with Christian Watson probably done for quite some time, especially with how his injuries were at the beginning of the year, I would definitely pick up Jayden Reed. Then we're going to another wide receiver in Elijah Moore. This situation is gross with the Browns, but Joe Flacco didn't really look that bad until, the last drive where he had that horrible interception. Now, Elijah Moore had 12 targets, which is unbelievable. If you see a guy get 10-plus targets on the waiver wire, you're almost automatically picking them up because that is elite level volume. He played 73% of the snaps, which is a great sign to see. I mean, Amari Cooper's there, but who else are they going to play anyway? 83 yards, 0 touchdowns, 12.3 fantasy points. So it could have been a bigger game. As you see, 12 targets, only 4 receptions. If Joe Flacco is the guy, if he's able to connect with Elijah Moore, and let's say Elijah Moore gets even 7 of those receptions, he could have an even bigger game than this. Say he throws in a touchdown as well. That we're looking at a 20-point performance. Just a few little things need to go Elijah Moore's way. Again, target volume is the one consistent thing that you can chase in fantasy football. And when you have a guy getting 12 targets, he should not be rostered in only 34.4% of leagues. And now we're going to go into our league winner, Tyjae Spears. Now, Tyjae Spears is a player that the fantasy football community has been very high on. And now with Derrick Henry getting a concussion, he could possibly be that guy. Now, I will say Derrick Henry just cleared concussion protocol. However, the Titans are not in a position to compete. They're 4-8 right now. So does it really make sense to bring Derrick Henry back, risk further injury? I'm not sure if he's the long-term answer, so maybe they're not going to care quite as much. But what's the real upside for bringing a guy like Derrick Henry back to, just help you get a worse draft pick? Again, I understand that the coaches are going to play him if he's available to play because they want to keep their job and everyone on the football field wants to win the game while they're there. However, with the doctors, upper management, you never know. There could be some strings pulled that they're putting Derrick Henry out. Maybe even Tyjae Spears isn't the guy for the rest of the season. They let Derrick Henry take a week off. Tyjae Spears is still going to be absolutely crucial to your playoff run. Now, if you're already in the playoffs and Derrick Henry is the guy a week from now, that kind of sucks. But you should be rostering him no matter what. He can win your league. If you're on the border, I honestly expect him to start this week, and that could be a massive difference. Let's just talk about stats. Played 67% of the snaps, had 16 carries, and was very efficient with 75 yards. But more importantly, Tyjae Spears was marketed as this receiving back. We've already seen it this year. He's had more than 50% of the snaps instead of Henry multiple times this year when the Titans are trailing. And that's probably what's going to happen. He gets 6 targets. That is great for any running back, especially a guy that just came into the game when Derrick Henry was pretty much dominating the full first half and ended the game with 12.8 fantasy points. Now, this honestly could have been even better if he scored a touchdown and the Titans offense, didn't completely suck. Hopefully Will Levis turns on at the end of the year, improving this whole offense. And Tyjae Spears, let's just pray. Of course, wish Derrick Henry the best. But let's just pray that he decides for his own well-being to sit out the rest of the year because the Titans are uncompetitive. That is going to be huge for fantasy football managers around the world. Then we're going to go over to our quarterback, Josh Dobbs. I know he had a horrible game. There's a question about if he will even start, but I started on this Josh Dobbs train, and I am going to finish it until he gets benched. Josh Dobbs continues to be one of the most underrated fantasy quarterbacks, and that's not because he's a great real-life quarterback. I mean, you saw out there he had 4 interceptions, but the rushing volume is there. Again, only 11 yards. You can see it on the screen. But that game was complete garbage. He just played terrible, and it's not like we're expecting Dobbs to never have a down game. Let's be realistic here. I don't think the Vikings should move on from him. Jaren Hall is a 5th-round pick and just looks like a career backup. The Vikings are still in contention, and if anyone in that building says that Josh Dobbs isn't the answer and they want to just throw Jaren Hall into the fire when they still have a chance, makes no sense to me. Again, had a bad week, but he's also had some very, very good weeks, and we haven't seen that from Jaren Hall. So I believe Dobbs is going to have that job. Has 400 rushing yards on the year, over that actually, which is massive for fantasy football production. If he's in the starting lineup for the Vikings with all the weapons, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, hopefully Jefferson comes back, he has a ton of upside paired with that rushing ability. Now, in week 12, let's dive into the numbers a little bit. He had a 68.8% completion percentage. Not bad at all. It was just the turnovers that killed him. That's not really been a map. Of course, he has no interception this year. He's not been great from that lens, but it's not like he's had multiple games where he's throwing 3 to 4 picks really ever before in his career. I think it's a one-time thing that he was that bad. 185 yards, only 4.5 points. You're going to be able to get him for free, but the threshold is under 50%. Not a lot of quarterbacks fit that, and Josh Dobbs is definitely the best waiver wire pickup that you can make at the quarterback position if you need to stream it. Then we'll end this off talking about a tight end you need to roster, Isaiah Likely. Now, I'll be honest, the tight ends under 50% on ESPN are so gross, and I've been an Isaiah Likely hater in the past. I never really thought that he was – people were saying he was as good as Mark Andrews or almost as good as Andrews, which is ridiculous to say. That said, I don't really know why everyone's so low on him this year. He's only rushed in 23.2% of leagues, which is insane to me. I understand that they have target competition there in Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers, and a bunch of other new guys. You got Rashad Bateman that previously weren't there. But the Ravens offense looks more pass happy than ever. Lamar looks amazing in the pocket and likely had 6 targets last week. That is pretty solid for a waiver wire guy. You're finding these tight ends that are coming out there and getting you 3 to 4 targets a game and doing absolutely nothing. They're on horrible offenses. You got guys like Kate Otten, who I thought was, the next man up. But in reality, he plays on a below average offense and is getting, 3 to 4 targets most games. Isaiah Likely is out there for 73% snaps. That's a pretty good snap share. And he's caught 4 passes, 40 yards. Not bad at all. 8 points. Now, of course, we're not saying 8 points are going to be league winning. But honestly, 8 points could get the job done as a low-end tight end 1. Now, we're not saying Isaiah Likely is going to win your league like I just said. And I'm not saying 8 points is good. But if you have to pick up a guy off the waiver wire, there are much worse options than Isaiah Likely, who can probably get you 8 points very consistently. And again, he's fairly talented. I don't think he's almost as good as Mark Andrews, but he's not a bad player. He's in a good offense, even though they do like to run the ball. They like to pass the ball more than normal. So I think Likely has some upside. He should not be rostered in 23% of leagues, even though I never really liked him in the past. I think it makes a ton of sense now. Go pick up Isaiah Likely. But that's going to wrap things up. If you have any questions at all about your fantasy football league, who you should start, who you should sit, any waiver wire pickups as well, please let me know down in the comments. If this helped you out, click that subscribe button and like the video. And again, I will see you guys this week for some more wide receiver and running back rankings Friday on the channel.